I am. It is Friday. I am live from the Manic Trout studio in Austin, Texas, and today I'm going to talk about goal check-ins. Do you do them? Why you should do them, and how to do them. I know that you guys really enjoyed the resolution, aka goals podcast that I did right around the first of the year. So this is a perfect time to do a follow-up as it is the end of the first quarter of the year. And at the end of today's live video, I'm going to give a big reveal about something coming next week. So if you are excited about that news, stay tuned for that. So I'm gonna play with things a little bit here, Trouties, because my studio is a very big. Okay, I'm gonna leave it. My studio is a huge mess right now. I have switched computers and it is chaotic. I'm switching operating systems for the first time in a long time, and there's just chaos. My usual table is holding my old computer as I transfer, so a little chaotic, but these things happen in life and it's part of my goals, and I am very into goals. So I want to draw all that into today. In case you don't know who this person is rambling on in front of you, my name is Sierra Bailey. I am the designer, the maker, here I'll do that, the everythinger here at Manic Trout, which is a jewelry company, online based, and I started these videos to, of course, show you the jewelry, but they have evolved, because I've been doing them for over a year, into a myriad of topics having to do with also owning a small business, and goals is such a big part of that, so I love to talk about them. All right, now, I know that in the resolution episode, I don't remember the number of it, but if you go to the videos on the Facebook, you can look at the section of it and just scroll down. We talked a lot about what types of goals to set, setting short-term goals, setting long-term goals, everything in between. We also talked about setting daily habits, and we talked about instead of the traditional idea of a resolution, of actually setting monthly resolutions, which is a great idea and something I've heard about a few people doing. So I feel that no matter what type of goal you set or work on, I think it is a wonderful thing to check in. It is part of effective goal setting, is to check in and to reflect on what you're doing and to look back on what you're doing and see where you have to go next. So in the year, I do like to have a small monthly check-in. I have a tiny weekly check-in, but quarterly is a great time to really assess where you are, because especially those of us that like to set long-term goals, quarterly is really your first stepping stone of the long-term goals. Usually you would do a 3-month, a 6-month, a 1-year, a 5-year, a 10-year. So a 3-month time is great to check into this. I'm not going to get fully into goals today. I'm just going to talk about check-ins because there's so much I could talk about. So when you do a check-in, especially at the end of the quarter, what you really are looking to do is you're looking back, you're reflecting on what you have done the past 3 months. So you're looking at did I accomplish these goals? What have I worked on? What is the thing that's maybe missing? I actually made a little bit of notes here that I'm going to look at a little bit. How are you doing on them? Even do you feel good about them? And, I have a few things. I, for example, have a sister who is in the process of getting her PhD. And the other day she's like, I just feel like I'm not making any progress on my goals. And I was like, you're in school getting your PhD. You are in the middle of a major goal and you're doing so well. Don't forget the big picture. So a lot of times the check-ins is to kind of remind yourself that these little things that you're doing every day towards the big picture are actually working. So it's really important, because sometimes you get lost in the little bits of goals and you maybe fall off track. And that really helps you be able to, see your progress. And that's wonderful. So it's not just to say, what didn't I get done or what am I doing next? But it's oh my goodness, I'm actually making progress. This is amazing. So that's why the check-ins are really important, because you really can feel what is the point? And, I have a pretty big goal that I've been working on personally, and I kind of fell off a little bit, and the check-ins draw me back in. My husband and I are we've started meditating with the Headspace app, and it's guided meditation, and Adam loves the voice of the gentleman that runs it, and that's why we picked that one. But, he often says, if your thoughts wander off, just pull them back in. It's with your goals. If you have check-ins, it's a good way to just pull pull yourself back in a little bit. And that's why they're so wonderful to do. So like I said, I do like a little check-in, like just half an hour once a week where I kind of like do my weekly things that I need to do. And that's more like putting my schedule together than anything else. And then, monthly, I like to keep an old school like ledger of bills and things like that for my business and for our household. So like I go through that once a month and see things coming up, check in, like, we have, one of our goals is to take a trip to Hawaii that we have been dying to do. And we're like, that's it. Next year is going to be the year that we're going to do it. So, I check in to see like, what the dates are of how far out we are. We're actually still on the like trying to pick a date. This is why we don't do it. We're so bad at this. But this is what happens when you're like middle-aged and busy. We tend to like, I'll just deal with that later. But then when's later? Like that's the issue. So it kind of like brings me back in every week to be like, that's right, I have to do that. And then, I obviously don't put that much effort in. So once a month when I'm doing the, bigger thing, that's when I really get to draw myself back in and look at my progress. And then quarterly is when I'm like, all right, 3 months has passed. Like 3 months is time. They used to say it was 30 days to set a habit. And now I think it's like 66 or something. So 3 months is a wonderful time to check in because you're like, all right, I tried to set a habit. Did it stick? Like, do I need to revisit this? Like things like that are so good. So I also sometimes feel like when you check in quarterly, you could have set a goal that maybe you no longer want to do. You're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. Sometimes I will set a goal, like let's say my goal is like to work on a certain project and then I'll get going and then I'll be like, no, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't right. This is not working. So like a quarterly check-in is wonderful because you can kind of like edit out things that are not working and put things in. And so, they're all great. And like I said, such a big part of it is about reflecting and reviewing and rewarding yourself. So if you have a quarterly check-in, it's a wonderful time to say, okay, if I've done, like I started 2 years ago writing morning pages. And in the beginning of it, when I would check in, if I had done it, like I could buy a book or something like that, like reward yourself in some way. So it's a great time to do that because the only way you're going to stay on track is by checking in and making sure you're staying on track. So I like to set up things that are obvious, like quarterly, end of year, end of month. These are just obvious times that make it easy to check in. So another thing is that I like to update like how I'm keeping goals. So it's hard to like get into this without really getting into this, but there are different times that you are establishing goals for, like 3 months, 6 months, blah, blah, blah. So in the quarterly goal, I kind of adjust everything. So like right now, my goals that had been my 6-month goals are now my 3-month goals, so I kind of like adjust my timeline a little bit and add new things to be the 3-month goals. So that is a great time to be able to do that as well, because not only are we reflecting, but we're also setting. So you also if you're doing like your monthly goals, like we talked about for the resolutions, this is a great time to figure out what the next 3-month goals are. I think I talked about it a while ago, but I don't know if anybody's read The Happiness Project with Gretchen Rubin, but she just talked a lot about this, like every month kind of setting like intentions of what she wanted to have accomplished for the month towards her happiness project. So a quarterly thing is a great time to like look at 3 months ahead and kind of set it out. And this is wonderful, not just for goals, and I guess they are goals, but like in running my own business. So I had a lot of goals that were business goals, but I never really called them goals. I just called them things I had to do for, my business and things like that. But I do this with my collections and with designing them and laying them out. So every 3 months, I really check in and make sure. At this point, I do schedule like a year in advance. So at the beginning of the year, I look at the calendar and I go through and I print out like mini calendars and like block it out of when collections come out and things like that. So if you are in a business where you are needing to schedule, like let's say like you want to do like a marketing push around Mother's Day. If you are checking in quarterly and looking 3 months ahead, you're going to have a great opportunity to plan these out a little bit better if you are doing quarterly check-ins than if you are just doing once a year. Or sometimes when you do monthly, it's too close. Like Mother's Day is in the beginning of May. So if you started thinking about Mother's Day at the end of April, when you looked at May, you would completely miss Mother's Day and kind of the marketing that goes around that. So quarterly goals are wonderful, or quarterly check-ins, we'll say, and the goals are wonderful for small businesses because sometimes a year in advance is too far. You aren't able to do it, and 1 month is not enough time. So that's a great time to sit down, and we are really upon it this weekend, in fact. So, maybe on Monday, take a few minutes, sometime next week, take a few minutes, sit down, look over your goals or look over your projects that you have coming up for the next quarter. Look definitely at the past 3 months, January, February, March, and reward yourself for all the good work that you've done, and maybe give yourself a little slap on the wrist if you haven't done enough. No, I mean, that's part of it too. You have to be accountable for what your work is. All right, so I actually want to keep the video kind of short this week because the last couple of videos have gone really long. Like, oh my goodness, the last video was so long, but it was about the spring summer trends, and that was pretty fun, how they work on different body types. So I am now going to very quickly move on to the big reveal. All right, Trouties, it comes but twice a year to Manic Trout. Next week, it's going to be the sample sale again. The sample sale opens up at Manic Trout for 2 weeks. The things that were there last year that didn't sell remain in it. So if you had your eye on something and then the sale closed and it was gone, chances are it will be there. I open it through first the insider email. So I'm actually going to include a link right in this, like after the video, you'll see a sign up. If you are not already in the it's the inner circle email. Did I call it the inside? Anyway, if you're not in the inner circle email, sign up for that. I send it out once a week. You get a monthly code. You get to have a summary of whatever live video I did and a link to it and whatever news is going on. So it's useful to get. I don't harass you or anything like that. But I will tell you first about the sample sale. The sample sale is filled with jewelry that it used to be more when I worked with like a lot of people, like a lot of PR, and I sent stuff out constantly and I did a lot of consignment. Stuff would come back. So that I would clean it, I would, make sure everything was in tip-top shape, and then that was kind of my way to be able to give you great deals on things, and for me to not sit on all of these samples that I had returned. Now it is more like, I don't, things evolve. I don't work with publicists anymore. So now really what it is that I usually make a full set of the jewelry, and then I will use that to take photographs and like to have on display in my studio and stuff like that. So I then will add those to the sample sale, like maybe a year or two afterwards, at a greatly reduced price. So this is a great opportunity if you've had your eye on something and maybe are not able to budget for it right now. You can try the sample sale, and if you're lucky, you can get the one piece of jewelry that's available. Sometimes more comes up. Sometimes there'll be multiples of things. I still, if I work with, I used to work a lot with, Joss and Main, and we would do big events, and I would make tons of stuff, and then if it didn't sell, they would sometimes go to the sample sale. So it just depends on what I've been doing the past couple of years, of what shows up in the sample sale every 6 months I post it. And it's awesome. Trouties love it. It's an obsession to be the first to get first dibs on the stuff on the site. I try to update it fast and remove this stuff so you don't feel sad and click on things that are sold out. But it's a very exciting event. 2 weeks only. You will find out about it first if you are in the inner circle email, and second if you are a Facebook friend. So make sure that we are connected on Facebook. You can click on my face. Also, speaking of that, if we're not connected on Instagram, find me there. I'm also Pinterest, Polyvore, Twitter, all those things. Manic Trout. And I love to meet Trouties. So comment, say hello, introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're watching, let me know what goals you're working on or what goals you've accomplished. Let's celebrate your victories. I love to, we're going back to the goal thing now. I love to hear about great things that are happening. But stay tuned. Sample sale coming next week. And I, of course, will be back here on Friday from my studio because every Friday at 1 p.m. Central, I am live. Thank you, Trouties. Have a fantastic weekend. There are many holidays abound. Be safe. Enjoy yourselves. And enjoy, I already said that. And I'll see you next week. Bye.